Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary on this UFC 313 preview show. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. So, doing this a little bit differently than we do normal previews around here with a bunch going on around the NHL trade deadline, with me going to Japan tomorrow. We had a lot to cover over the last little bit. So this is going to be in the style of the mega preview with a bit of a twist. We're going to start out with the stuff that we've covered throughout the week already, the big storylines going into tonight, the fighters to watch, and then we're going to close with the picks that will be unveiled, I guess, for the first time. So as always, we're presented by Sea of Dead. Check out seaofdead403.ca. What better way to celebrate spring being here? What better way to celebrate UFC tonight, AEW tomorrow, than with a Stampede Wrestling shirt? We got Dutton's at the Dome to get ready for St. Patrick's Day. So a lot of great stuff. Check that out. And as always, fueled by Swift Energy. Check out swiftenergy.gg for use the code PK Primetime. Helps with the fuel, helps with the focus, helps get you through the day. So we're going to dive in and start this mega preview looking at the big storylines in the big fights for UFC 313. UFC 313 goes down this weekend from T-Mobile Arena in Paradise, Nevada, more commonly referred to as Las Vegas. In the main event, it is Alex Pereira, pound for pound top fighter, taking on Magomed Ankalaev for the light heavyweight championship. And a former lightweight champion returns in the co-main event. So, should be an interesting fight. What are we looking for here in our first look at UFC 313? Yes, Toxic, almost 3 hours. Yeah, this is a long one today. And probably, you know what? Could have planned it better because I'm going to be doing 2 hours of radio in 5.5 hours. So hitting the tee, hitting the halls pretty hard after this one here. So no video game stream today. But UFC 313. Pereira, this is a really... I've used this word too much tonight. It's a fascinating fight because he is a pound for pound king. I have him pound for pound number 2 right now in my rankings. He has fought some big names, but this is his toughest test. Ankalaev is the type of style matchup that we all assume will give Pereira some fits. Like he is the type of a grinder that you think a guy who comes from a kickboxing background would have some problems with. So when you look at the resume of a Pereira, like you look at, obviously, like Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka, champions all around. Jamal Hill, Prochazka again. Maybe not Khalil Roundtree, but like you have a bunch of guys who are former champions. And so if we were to do a light heavyweight tournament, I don't know if Ankalaev is coming out of that with a win necessarily. But because he has this style that Pereira hasn't really had to deal with before in this run, in the meteoric run in mixed martial arts, that it is one that presents the most questions for him, and one that is a very interesting challenge for Pereira. So with so much potential in Pereira's future, this is a really bold fight for him to take and a really dangerous opponent. On the other hand, if he is able to pass this test and come away again as a 205-pound champion, one more time, the sky is the limit for opportunities that Pereira could get coming up in 2025. But he is taking on a guy who has a very real chance in Magomed Ankalaev, who is coming into this one at 19-1-1 with one no contest. He had the opportunity for the title in 2022, fighting for the vacant championship, and then it was a draw. He goes off, fights Johnny Walker. There's an illegal knee. Walker's not able to continue, so we have to do that fight again. He beats Walker, beats Rakic in convincing fashion at UFC 308, setting him up for a title opportunity. But it felt like he was right there for a title chance, couldn't quite do it against Blachowicz, maybe wasn't quite ready for that chance, but now he feels like he is ready for this title opportunity. So he is deserving of a title chance. He does get a little bit lost in the shuffle at times, but I do think that, again, his skill set and the resume and the build up to this fight means that this is a very game and very dangerous challenger coming up on Saturday night. The other story around this is that there have been big changes to the co-main event. Dan Hooker is out, and you get Fiziev in there with a rematch. Rafael Fiziev and Justin Gaethje will do the dance again in the lightweight division. And so now you have... you go from, okay, this is an intriguing fight, to, oh, there are stories here. Fiziev, he lost, like when these guys fought, Fiziev on a bit of a roll, right? Like we were talking about, like, okay, this is the type of like all action fighter in a fight against Gaethje. He's coming off some good wins, like Moicano. That's a good. Bobby Green, that's a good win. Rafael dos Anjos, not the win that it was probably 5 years ago, but that's still a good win back in 2022. And now he's going into this huge fight on a huge stage, pay-per-view against Justin Gaethje, and he loses. And so that just stopped a lot of the momentum that he had, where he went from exciting upstart prospect to, maybe there's a ceiling here. And then it gets doubled up on because his next fight, he fights Mateusz Gamrot, and he injures his knee in that fight and hasn't fought since. There was supposed to be a rematch that never officially happened, and now he checks in here on very late notice for this fight. And so you have a guy who hasn't fought since September of 2023, who hasn't won since July of 2022, and all of a sudden, this is a fight for his career. It kind of feels like. I don't think they'll cut him if he loses to Justin Gaethje. A lot of people lose to Justin Gaethje. But I think that, like, again, that upward trajectory going toward a title opportunity, that pretty well gets stopped. And for Gaethje, he has lost before, right? Like, he has come off of losses at different times in his career. I would suggest no one's lost like that before, where you were a favorite coming in, you got pieced up for 5 rounds, and then with a second left, you were on the receiving end of one of the most badass otherworldly knockouts in the history of the sport. By the way, at UFC 300, probably the most stacked card in the history of ever. And it is it was a stacked card top to bottom, and it was the defining highlight of the entire night, was you getting knocked out. That, at 36, is a tough one to come back from. So we will see what is Justin Gaethje's mental state, because he has always come back and he has always been in high action fights. But that, like, not to sound too dramatic or whatever, but that has to change a guy a little bit, right? So what does Gaethje look like coming back and coming off of an all-time bad loss, going up against a guy who is desperate in this fight to not lose 3 in a row? So a lot of very interesting stories going into UFC 313. More UFC 313 coverage as the week goes on, as we will look at the undercard fighters to watch on this card, and then coming up later on in the week as well, a full preview for at least the main card for UFC 313. UFC 313 goes down this weekend from Las Vegas, Nevada. In the main event, it is Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev for the light heavyweight championship. Also, Justin Gaethje against Rafael Fiziev in a very big rematch that these two are going to have coming up on Saturday. We broke that all down on Monday. That podcast and video available now. But today we're going to look at some of the undercard fighters that we are looking forward to seeing coming up on Saturday. And it starts with Jalin Turner in the lightweight division. He is facing Ignacio Bahamondes, which is one of the elite names in all of sports. But Turner, I still think there is a really talented fighter there, but he's lost 3 of his last 4. At 29, there is still a lot of time, but it does feel like this is a must-win for him, because the guys who he was fighting, it kind of feels like maybe there was a touch too much too soon for this kid. And the tools are tantalizing, right? Like, he is a lightweight, but he's tall and he's long. And we have always, like, going back to, rest in peace, but Corey Hill from the Ultimate Fighter, where it's, oh my God, this guy is huge, but he still meets the weight class. And so, like, he can... You have that length and you have that size, and that's great. And we've always kind of romanticized that at the lighter weight classes. And sometimes it's worked and sometimes it doesn't. For Turner, you romanticize a lot of those things. And so I feel like he got pushed up the card and pushed up the rankings maybe a little bit earlier than he needed to. And I hope that didn't set the development back too much, but it certainly has set him back a touch. Because those are some tough losses that he had, and it has come at the expense of some other guys kind of moving up now. So this one, though, you're facing Bahamondes, who himself an interesting fighter, 27 years old, but he is not someone that is on a level that I think Turner should be having problems with. And so if Turner wins, you kind of, okay, good. We can, we still got something here. And you kind of exhale and you get it back on track. If he loses, then you do kind of wonder if things have just been irreparably damaged from a high level standpoint. And maybe you just, I don't want to say cut bait. I don't think you do that. But in terms of the dreams of him being a main eventer and a title challenger, maybe those go away. Or at least the road is long to get back to that point. Flyweight division. Ray Saruya taking on Joshua Van. I am so excited for this fight. Two kids under 23 years old with combined 2 losses, and that's because Van's lost twice. This is a really fun fight. I think these are 2 fighters who have really high ceilings in the flyweight division, which have been looking for a star for forever. And so I think you get an opportunity here with a couple of guys on a pay-per-view undercard, but still, there's an excitement level about it. There's a higher level of attention than there would be for an Apex card or something like that. So I think that you have a good opportunity to kind of showcase a couple real exciting fighters in the flyweight division and see maybe the future of this division. So that would be like the undercard fight to watch coming up on Saturday. And you get a couple solid vets on the card. Amanda Lemos and Bobby Green probably aren't in the title competing windows of their career anymore, but still a couple of good fighters, and always fun to see them get after it when they get going, especially like King Green, right? Amanda Lemos, she kind of had her time, didn't really work. Coming off of a loss in her last fight, given the lack of high-level depth in that division, that there is still a chance that she works her way into a title opportunity, but that is a little bit more based on where everyone is set up, not necessarily where she is at in her career right now. And Curtis Blades, he's lost 2 of his last 3, but it doesn't take a whole lot of time to work up in the heavyweight division. He is fighting someone without a Wikipedia page on this card, so he has an opportunity, I think, to go out and put a real stamp on things in this particular bout. So those are some of the fighters to watch for UFC 313 coming up later this week in podcast form and on YouTube, plus on a live stream on twitch.tv/primetimepk. We're going to do the full main card breakdown for UFC 313. Let's get ready for UFC 313 now, as we're going to break down the 3 big fights on this one today. Let's start in the lightweight division. It is Jalin Turner taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. Bahamondes is a really interesting fighter at 27. We got a couple highlight reels on the resume there, but I just, and this is going to be kind of a common theme throughout the preview here, I just kind of feel like Turner is a more talented fighter, and I just feel like he has this unique size that goes with a very good skill set. And it has not, as we talked about in the fighters to watch there, it has not been the most inspiring of journeys for Jalin Turner the last little bit, and it has set things back quite a bit for him. But I still think that when you look at the quality of the guys that he has lost to, Bahamondes just is not on that level. And so I feel like coming into this one, this is a little bit more the area where Turner is supposed to be, and so I think a win here gets him back on track. I still think there is a very, very talented fighter in there, and I think it is very concerning if you come up with a defeat in this fight if you are Jalin Turner. So really big fight for him, very intriguing bout here at 155 pounds, and one that I'm excited to see when it gets into the octagon. I am going to take Jalin Turner, and my pick is by decision. Sorry, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably see that we're rifling between a couple of pages here, trying to get the odds for this particular one. There we go. Oh, and I clicked on the wrong thing. It is awesome you can get Breyer odds, though. But, all right, there we go. UFC 313. Let's take a look. Jalin Turner, the underdog, going into this fight. So, first pick's an underdog play. We're going to go Jalin Turner, plus 112 on that one, and feel pretty good about taking the underdog in that particular spot. So, Yeah, liking this one so far. Let's now go stay in the lightweight division as Justin Gaethje takes on Rafael Fiziev. These two, it is a rematch from when they fought a couple of years ago. We discussed in the pre-fight about how important this fight is and how things have kind of changed for both of these guys coming out of this one. And I just feel like it has been such a long layoff for Fiziev, coming in now on short notice as well, and going into a fight with Justin Gaethje, who really doesn't seem like he's been affected by what happened at UFC 300 all that much. And so I really do think, with all things mentally being equal here, again, I think Gaethje is a better fighter than Fiziev is. I think Fiziev coming into this one if he had a full training camp to figure out what went wrong in that last bout, then maybe. But to take this one on short notice with Gaethje getting ready for, quite frankly, I think a better fighter at this point in Dan Hooker, I just think that it is too much of a hill to climb for Fiziev at this point. And so I give Justin Gaethje the edge in this one. I think he gets it done. I think it is going to be a very, very fun fight. And so again, we're going with an underdog pick in this. A little surprising again to see Justin Gaethje coming in as the underdog in this particular bout at plus 135, and taking a look, because I do kind of think that Fiziev is going to be good enough, I guess, to not to not get knocked out here. And so Justin Gaethje by points is plus 300. So a little bit of value play on that one for a Justin Gaethje coming up here today. So a couple good underdog plays that I'm liking early on in this contest. Really happy with how the odds have kind of stacked up for us here. And that goes to the main event of the evening. It is Alex Pereira defending the light heavyweight championship against Magomed Ankalaev. And a lot of the talk this week has been about Ankalaev's wrestling. He doesn't use it as much as you would assume someone named Magomed Ankalaev would use it. He does like to keep things standing a little bit, and every round starts on the feet. I can't imagine, with 5 rounds staying on the feet, that Alex Pereira doesn't eventually break through in a big-time way. I just think that the skill set as a stand-up fighter is at an elite level. And so because of that, I just don't see this being a banana peel that he slips on. I think that when you get into those stand-up battles that Ankalaev, I do think that once Ankalaev kind of understands that he is going to be on the wrong end of the stand-up battle, that the game plan will probably shift. But I do also think that it won't be as easy for him to just get inside and get a takedown. That's been a strategy for a couple of guys, and it hasn't worked on Pereira just yet. So I think Poatan, one of the best fighters in the world right now, stays it, and I think he comes away with a victory, probably by a stoppage, in this bout. And so again, we go to the odds, and it is essentially a toss-up fight right now with Pereira the slight favorite at minus 115. And so I don't mind just jumping on Pereira minus 115 in that spot. Going to look here quickly. The money seems pretty well split in terms of who it's on more in this one. But let's take a look at where we are at with the odds for a potential stoppage, because I do think he ends up getting the stop in this particular fight. Will the fight go the distance? No is minus 223. Pereira by knockout, TKO or disqualification is plus 125. So you get a little bit better odds on that one there. So I don't mind that. So 3 fight prediction, or 3 fight predictions, and we got 2 underdogs and 3 plus money plays for you here today. Really excited about that. Taking a look at the rest of the card, honestly, like Amanda Lemos plus 120, that is another live underdog for everyone in this fight. I like that one too, and think we can maybe get a little bit out of that. Ray Saruya at plus 165 is another good underdog play. So there's a few underdog spots here that I'm really digging at UFC 313. And then if you want to pair that with what feels like a bit more of a sure thing, I think Curtis Blades has a pretty easy time with Rizvan Kuniev at on the first fight of the prelims there. So I think that this is a night where we can maybe cash in on a few things at UFC 313. So that is going to do it for the UFC 313 mega preview. Again, the rest of the next little bit is going to be a little bit all over the place. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to have your AEW Dynamite mega preview in kind of the same way as this. We did the early storylines, the first look earlier in the week. We're going to run run through a recap of Dynamite and do the Revolution preview coming up on the podcast tomorrow. Coming up on Monday, it is going to be the full free agency preview. We've been running through off-season previews and NFL free agency for a little bit here. Now is an opportunity to really kind of bundle it all together. There's been a few changes that have been made since our last prediction show with a few of these, so we're going to break those down, look at who could be overvalued, who could be undervalued, and get a few previews out there. Wednesday is going to be NHL trade deadline recap, going back over the winners and the losers from the deadline, and then we get into Major League Baseball preview mode with a little bit more combat sports talk in there as well. So, as always, you can find me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein. That is anywhere you get your social medias. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell icon because we're going to start going live when I'm back from Japan. That subscribe button really helps me out a lot. If you're feeling up to it, that there's a tip option in the links as well. I would greatly appreciate it, but I understand in the tough economic times, I'm not expecting anything, but it would be greatly appreciated. Either way, check out Sea of Dead, seaofdead403.ca for that great Calgary swag, and Swift Energy. Use the promo code PKPrimetime for 25% off. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today. Let's do it again tomorrow, shall we? And we'll be talking some more fights, just a little bit different style with AEW. Enjoy the fights tonight, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.